This is Gosforth on the outskirts of Newcastle, and this is the very house that Alan Shearer first called home some 35 summers ago. Of course, there was never any doubt what young Alan was going to be, nor who he was going to play for, eventually. And some 734 games and 379 goals later, the whole city will tonight pay its tribute to the Premiership's most prolific predator. After a beautiful day on Tyneside, it is a big night for Big Al. Alan Shearer's beloved Newcastle take on Celtic here at St James's Park in his testimonial match. Thanks for 10 great years, say the fans of Newcastle, and Celtic too. Players and supporters are here to help bring down the curtain on an illustrious career. There have been plenty of imitators down the years, but only one Alan Shearer. Tonight is his farewell party as a player. Well, welcome to St James's Park, a very expectant St James's Park tonight for Alan Shearer's final farewell as a player, his testimonial game, a Newcastle 11 picked really by Alan to take on the mighty Celtic in front of, well, what else would you expect but a massive crowd, a sellout crowd here at St James's Park. Alan, of course, is here, still recovering from a knee injury, I hasten to add, but he will play some part in tonight's game. And, of course, the many familiar faces that have played with, against, managed Alan down the years, all here to play their part in his big party. But let me take you back to the beginning, really, for Alan as a professional player. April 1988, down on the south coast. He made his league debut for Southampton, and what else for Alan Shearer than score a hat-trick against Arsenal? The goals for him have come thick and fast ever since. Tonight, all of these people are here for one person, for Mr. Shearer, and we will be hearing from Alan very, very shortly, along with his wife, Lania. The players involved for both Newcastle and Celtic this evening will pay their own special tribute to Alan Shearer before kick-off here this evening, which is at 7:45. Neil Lennon, of course, here in Celtic colours, John Hartson too, and the fans, of course, will also be very much involved tonight. Everybody wants to shout about Mr. Shearer.
He's a goal scorer, he's a target man, he's very intelligent, doing the right runs, he's very tough, extremely tough. He has not the pace today which he had in the past, but anyhow it's very clever.
His percentage of shots in target. If he had an opportunity to have a striker go, he got in target. I think that was a great asset he had. I think that stood him apart from other centre forwards.
Well, he's not as boring as he comes across on television. He's I spent 5 years in a room with him, so he can be boring, but he's a proper lad. He's a proper team player, and everybody who's ever played with him will tell you how much respect they have for him.
McNeil paying his own sort of compliment to Alan Shearer. Of course, the Newcastle number 9 has been synonymous with legends down the years, Jackie Milburn, etc. But clearly it has belonged to no other than Alan Shearer for the last decade. Feels like all of Newcastle and a good part of Glasgow is here at St James's this evening for a massive, massive night for Mr Shearer. I think it's fair to say that back in the Southampton days, the haircuts perhaps cost a little more, the tracksuits maybe cost, well, a little less. Nice scenes though, nice scenes from a glorious career for Mr Shearer. And here he is with Andy Townsend.
Yes, now that I'm joined with Alan and the family, of course, we're all looking forward to it very much. Al, I know it's going to be a big night, an emotional night for you. Just briefly, how important a part of these guys played in your success down the years?
Oh, well, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for these. They've played a huge part. They've followed me wherever I've been, and they've always left the decisions up to me, so I've got a lot to thank them for.
Smashing. OK, and Lionel, looking forward to some quality time together at last?
I'm looking forward to some holidays, definitely, and Christmas.
Oh yeah,
big thing, yeah.
And what about now? What about the future for Owen? Now, would you rather see him go into management or continue to get his golf handicap down a little bit?
I think I'd rather he got his golf handicap down first, and then he can do managing after that.
And I'm sure the kids as well. Looking forward to seeing Dad around a wee bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, smashing. What about you, young man? Yes, looking forward to having Daddy at home a bit. Yeah, of course he is. And finally, of course, this is going to be, such an emotional night for you. How are you feeling right now?
I'm all right at the moment. I think when I'm walking around the pitch at the end, then it might get to me, but it'll be a good night, and people have paid good money to see a decent game, so
sure.
Hopefully the players will do it right. But it'll be a special one.
Well, listen, mate, look, on behalf of everybody that's played, no doubt, with you, against you down the years, you've been a proper player.
Cheers.
A great advert for British football. Have a fantastic night, all of you.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Well, thank you very much to Andy and, of course, the Shearer family. Nice to see the rocks, really, behind the legend. Now, of course, for pretty much the major part of the 10 years that Alan's been a player here, the chairman here at Newcastle has been Mr Freddie Shepherd, and he's just alongside me here with Ned Bolting. Ned.
Well, Matt, he's the chairman now. He was one of the directors 10 years ago when he wrote out that colossal cheque for 15 million quid. Was there ever a shred of doubt in your mind that it might have been a waste of money? It's such a huge amount.
Well, you never know in football, but when we wrote it out, we're confident Alan would be here for 10 years. I've got to tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, it has been an extraordinary achievement. Despite the lack of silverware, he's meant so much to this club over the last decade, hasn't he?
Well, he is. I mean, he is a Geordie hero. He's an institution, actually, on the Tyneside. And this is the first announcement where we'll be putting a statue up for him outside the ground in 2 months' time. So that's how much high regard he's held in Newcastle.
It's amazing. Now, the way forward, we're all expecting a big managerial appointment. I think we all know what it's going to be. Can you confirm the Glenn Roeder situation?
No, we're having a press conference on Monday, and everything will be disclosed then.
OK. What about Alan's role?
Alan's role will be disclosed tonight. He wants to announce it himself tonight after the game.
So he'll tell the fans tonight, and he'll tell the world what it's going to be, and he wants to give a little surprise to the fans.
He wants to do it himself, and that's the way it should be done.
Well, thanks very much, Freddie. I sense that there is perhaps a closing of one era at Newcastle, but perhaps the opening of another door. Back to you, Matt.
Thank you very much to Ned and, of course, to Freddie. Interesting words, as always, from the chairman. Nice pictures, too, with Cady singing Nessun Dorma to the now full St James's Park. I suspect it's going to be a bit of an emotional night for a lot of people, big night for a lot of people, none more so, of course, than Alan himself. Meanwhile, for him, the tributes just keep coming.
Great goal scorer, fantastic professional, works his socks off week in, week out whenever he plays, and he's just a magnificent, been one of the all-time great strikers in the history of the game.
We've played against him and we come off with the ump, he's barged one or two over, but at the end of the day everyone's got total respect for him, and a fantastic goal scorer, a fantastic leader, a fantastic player.
Kick-off is fast approaching here at St James's Park for Alan Shearer's swan song as a player, I might add. As you can see, the family is still very much part of the occasion with Alan here. Mark Clattenburg, the referee, Geordie himself doesn't get to officiate league games here, being a local lad, but can tonight. He's very happy to be part of things. Everybody's happy to be here tonight, including, I suspect, our commentary team. High time we heard from them, Jim Beglin and John Champion.
Absolutely right, Matt. It is often said that St James's Park resembles a cathedral, and this evening the congregation have come to pay homage to their footballing deity. 20,000 people turned out to welcome Alan Shearer home when he signed. Tonight, 10 years on, 52,000 have been lucky enough to get their hands on much sought-after tickets to be part of this very special occasion. So many Geordie celebrities in the crowd tonight, from so many different spheres of life. Jimmy Nail at the top of the list, ready to salute a lifelong warrior who arrived here for a world record and departs having set a club record. Alan Shearer, as befits the occasion, will be the last to appear from the St James's Park tunnel. 206 goals, more than any other player for this famous old club. The Blaydon races making way for more modern accompaniment. Celtic, every player's first choice opponents for a testimonial, because they guarantee a crowd, but no need for insurance policies tonight. They could have sold this one out at least twice over. But for one last time, St James's Park braces itself to pay homage and to bid welcome to its favourite son. Karloff's Carmina Burana, but there is only one tune. A mosaic right around the ground. Spelling out Shearer's name and his shirt number. Nowhere in the world of football does the number 9 carry greater resonance and responsibility. Nowhere is its occupant treated with greater reverence. And to the sound of Local Hero, written by another great Geordie, Mark Knopfler, here comes arguably the greatest player ever to wear the black and white. Club and international managers of the past. Graham Taylor we saw, who gave Shearer his first England cap. Bobby Robson, who revived his club career. And of course Kenny Dalglish, with whom he won his one major medal, the Premiership Trophy of 1995. Special shirts for a special occasion, a unique match ball, which we'll see in greater detail shortly. And exit 5-year-old son Will, accompanied by daughters Chloe and Holly. And now Alan Shearer is left on the stage where he is most comfortable. Let's look at the two lineups. The Newcastle starting 11 contains one of the 4 guests on duty tonight, Steve Watson. Otherwise, they've all been regulars in the Premiership. Lee Clark has delayed a hernia operation to play in this. Like Watson, like Shearer, he's a product of the famous Wallsend Boys Club. Shearer not on that list. He will kick the game off and will then retire for a while at least. Celtic include 3 players who have been withdrawn from the Scotland squad. That's how seriously the club's taking this occasion. Alan Thompson, a one-time Newcastle player. Dublin and Lennon are old Premiership foes. And in reserve, a whole host of substitutes, including for Newcastle, close friends in Rob Lee, Les Ferdinand and Gary Speed. Celtic can call on leading scorer John Hartson. There was a flamboyant testimonial dinner held in this stadium last night. Many of the players, many of the guests didn't get to bed until the early hours. Alan Shearer was one of the last to leave, accompanied by the man who, in 4 days' time, will be confirmed as the permanent full-time manager of Newcastle United. He came into this world with goals in his feet, guile in his heart, but most importantly, Newcastle United etched through every fibre. A career that has spanned 10 years. He signed for the club on the 30th anniversary of England's World Cup triumph. Highly appropriate for someone whose star sign is Leo the Lion. This is purely a ceremonial kick-off because of Shearer's knee injury. The plan is that he will touch the ball first. It will be ferried back to Shay Given in front of the Gallowgate end. And immediately up goes the 4th official's board. And off comes the Geordie icon. Unless the crowd are worrying that they won't see him again on the pitch as a player, without letting you into too much of a secret, he is going to be back. Michael Chopra, the next generation, has replaced Shearer, and now we're ready for kick-off proper. So Shearer, the assistant manager for the next 90 minutes before his late cameo. Here is Chopra. Newcastle, of course, have had a terrific end to the season, which has taken them into a European place for the start of next season. Celtic have just won the Scottish Premier League for the 4th time in 6 seasons. And the plan is that young Will should sit on the bench alongside Alan Shearer for part of the game, but he's also joining the youngest ball boy in the ground for the first few moments. Celtic with Sean Maloney. I've got Jim Beglin alongside me. Jim, you've played in and watched many testimonials. How competitive are you expecting this to be this evening?
Well, the pressure's off. I think when you go into testimonials as a pro, you're not under that pressure to win the match, so that's a nice thing. But at the same time, you heard Alan Shearer himself. He wants to give this fabulous crowd tonight value for money. And if somebody is giving you the runaround, pride takes over and you want to put an end to it. So I think it'll be reasonably competitive without being overdone.
Here's Alan Thompson. In nips Stephen Carr. And here's Chopra. And although this is a testimonial, it's another opportunity for him to impress. He's out of contract. Here's Nzogbia, held off by Mark Wilson, and Celtic have a free kick.
What about that reception for the man of the moment, though? I mean, how charged was that? How emotional was that? He's a very cool customer, we all know that, but the butterflies must be there, because I mean, I knew they liked him up here, but that's pure worship, hero worship.
So Stilian Petrov, and now the left back, Charlie Mulgrew. Titus Bramble across. Newcastle without a good number of players through injury. That's been the situation all season. Sven-Göran Eriksson has declined to allow Michael Owen to take part. But Dyer and Solano and Parker and Bowyer are all missing. And Craig Moore, who's been a stalwart at the back in their run towards an Intertoto Cup place, is involved in World Cup preparations with Australia. Here's Dion Dublin. Alan Thompson. Now Neil Lennon. Trying to free Zurawski, and through it goes to Shea Given.
Not a bad way for Celtic to wind up what's been a marvellous season for them as well. Old Trafford and St James's Park, and two atmospheres as they've had in the space of 3 days. Fantastic for those players.
Amiobi. Back from Babayaro. Celtic played another testimonial only 48 hours ago for Roy Keane at Old Trafford, and that was, as Jim alluded to, pretty competitive. Whereas they had 25,000 supporters inside Old Trafford, tonight they have just 3,000. Emre. Now Lee Clark goes into hospital, actually has his operation next Tuesday, and is then going to take up a position as reserve team coach in the new structure that's about to be announced at the club. And the old anthem about walking in a Shearer wonderland ringing around the cavernous stands here at St James's. Babayaro and Zogbia showing a neat bit of pace. Charlie Mulgrew there to cut out the through ball. Petrov. Alan Thompson began his career here. It's an evening really to soak up the atmosphere, the emotion, the sheer noise generated by this full house. Last night's testimonial dinner brought Shearer himself to the point of tears.
You just wish he was playing, John. I think this crowd and what they're singing now, I think they feel exactly the same way. It's a pity Alan Shearer isn't out there for the 90 minutes himself.
Shearer has trained the last 2 days. It's too loud for some. Varga just getting to the ball ahead of Chopra. Stephen McManus. Back by Neil Lennon. Celtic were last here 7 years ago for Peter Beardsley's testimonial, when 37,000 saw Celtic win 3-1 against a Newcastle team that included the man who signed Alan Shearer, Kevin Keegan. Dublin.
I think Celtic would have been slightly relieved as well at the pace the game started with. I mean, if Newcastle had had a real go, considering they just played at Old Trafford a couple of nights ago, it might have been difficult to get up to speed straight away, but I think this will have suited.
Here's Nzogbia. It is actually a pretty warm evening. Temperature's been up in the mid-70s in Newcastle today, which I think it's fair to say, without being rude to the climate in these parts, is unseasonably warm.
We've covered a few games, haven't we, over the last couple of seasons up here together, and it's not often we're sitting in shirt sleeves. I'll take this any night.
Wilson. Maloney. It's Dion Dublin. Held off by Boomsong. Steve Carr. Round ball. Amiobi. Thompson. On by Petrov. And Bramble's header.
I think it's great as well for Alan Shearer to have the game played when optimism is back at St James's Park, thanks to Glenn Rhoda, because they finished the season so strongly. So much to look forward to again.
Strange, isn't it? 2 years ago, under Sir Bobby Robson, they finished 5th and were booed off the field after the last home game. This year, they struggled for most of the campaign, finish well, end up in 7th, get into the much maligned Intertoto, and they're cheered to the rafters. Just about the first time that Mark Clattenburg has had to blow for a foul by Emre. Thompson with the free kick. Bit of shirt pulling involving Babayaro and Dublin. Very unlucky not to score at Old Trafford against his old club on Tuesday. Thumping header that Edwin van der Sar somehow turned against the crossbar.
He scored here with Villa a couple of times, Dublin. I think he did, didn't he? Yeah.
One on his last 2 visits to this ground. Here's Chopra. Carr. And David Marshall clutching it. The one absentee, actually, Jim, tonight from the Celtic lineup is a notable one. Roy Keane played 90 minutes. 45 for each side in that game at Old Trafford, and his hip has given way and he's not able to be part of this evening. Nothing at all to do with on one of his most recent visits here. He was sent off for fighting with the recipient of the testimonial.
I do remember that. He saw a red card a couple of times here, didn't he?
Twice, yes. Yeah. You could say that of him at a few grounds, though.
You could.
Steve Watson. Steve Carr, who's had that red card against Chelsea rescinded. So he won't begin next season, as had been threatened with a 4-game ban. Clark for Babayaro. Now Emre. And Zogbia. Cut out by Varga, who's a former Sunderland player. Noise level tonight compares favourably with a run-of-the-mill Premiership game here. Those are usually passionate enough affairs, but tonight there's an extra edge to it.
I thought Boomsong might get a little bit of stick off the Celtic contingent here tonight from his Rangers days.
Babayaro. Here's Chopra away from the lunge of Wilson. Amiobi is central. And McManus helped to get it clear. Now Charlie Mulgrew. Celtic left-back tonight hasn't played in the first team in a competitive game. He spent the last 4 months on loan with Dundee United.
Lovely for players like that as well, John, to sample big occasions like this, big crowds, big atmospheres.
I did mention to Gordon Strachan that I heard he'd done pretty well at Dundee United, and he cut me dead with the line, "Aye, if you consider 1 win in 4 months is good." Tried to rescue myself by suggesting that personally he'd done well. It's a team game, son.
Yeah, I spent some time at Leeds with Gordon. He's never short of words. And the odd cutting comment.
Foul given against Dion Dublin by a referee who's also making a comeback this evening, Mark Clattenburg. He's only 31, but he's been out for the last 5 months with a knee problem. One of the rising stars of the Premiership refereeing scene. And if tonight's game is half as good as the last one he took charge of, we're in for a treat. That was Luton 3, Liverpool 5 in the FA Cup back in January. Babayaro.
I remember that one well as well. It's not often a player scores from the other half, is it? Xabi Alonso that night.
Here's Clark. Miobi, and it's a free kick for Newcastle United. Attacking the Lees' end in this first half. And Lee Clark has pulled up with an injury. He is booked in for that double hernia operation. Derek Wright is being asked to come on. Derek was expecting a quiet night tonight. Lee Clark in his second spell with the club, and he was a teammate of Peter Beardsley, the last man to have Celtic here for a testimonial, and Peter's with Ned Bolting.
And we'll be straight back to the action, I can promise you that, but it's worth just grabbing a quick word with this man who knows all about Alan Shearer in black and white and in white for England. What's he like? Because he doesn't give too much away, his public face. What's he like?
I would agree with that, but he's a superstar. You can tell by the reaction tonight what it means to people, and he is our hero, there's no doubt about it. You know, Milburn was obviously a fantastic number 9. I wasn't lucky enough to see him, but as far as number 9s go, it's a special shirt at this club, and he's worn it with pride.
Peter, he's such a tough man, isn't he? He's such a hard individual as a player and as a human being. The injuries he's come back from, the things he's had to overcome. Do you think, though, he will have been touched and moved, perhaps more than he might have realised by the reception he's been given today?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, at the end, he'll probably tell you that, but the special thing for him was still the walk out with his family. You know, you could see what it meant to them. You know, the little boy was probably overawed by it, but special people and special sort of night for a special man, there's no doubt about it.
For those who perhaps are younger viewers who haven't necessarily seen him in his absolute pomp, just to remind us what a great player he was at his absolute best.
It's hard to describe, you know. He's the best goal scorer I've ever seen, without a doubt. You know, he made goals for people, he scored goals, but he was prepared to get kicked. You know, he was prepared to get in there where it hurts. Sometimes he did get hurt, as you say, he had serious injuries, but the way he recovered from them were very special.
Great stuff. Thanks, Peter. Enjoy the evening.
Cheers, thank you.
Peter Beardsley would be on that list along with Hughie Gallagher and Len White, Jackie Milburn, Malcolm MacDonald, of great Newcastle goal scorers. Top of the list, Alan Shearer.
I remember first seeing him, Elland Road, must have been 91-92, 3-3 draw, and he scored twice. And I was struck that day with the confidence of his finishing and his authority and the presence he had on the pitch even back then.
Burst upon the scene, of course, back in April 1988 with that hat-trick on his full debut against Arsenal. He's always had a sense of occasion and a sense of timing, and it was perhaps no coincidence that he chose to play Arsenal in the one game that season that Tony Adams was missing. Lukic and Dixon still in the Arsenal back line that day. They scored 3 against them. His favourite opponents down the years, Leeds United. 12 goals he scored for Newcastle against Leeds. Here's Petrov. Paul Gascoigne, another of the iconic Geordies here tonight. There is going to be a penalty shootout at half-time, which will feature Gaza. Here's Zurawski. 20 goals this season, his first campaign with Celtic for the Pole. He'll be at the World Cup. Sean Maloney, the Scottish Player of the Year. Charlie Mulgrew. He's the man who helped to build the club into what it is today. Sir John Hall. He was in charge when Newcastle got to the Premiership in the early 90s. And was still controlling the purse strings when efforts were made to sign Alan Shearer to his home city club. It's basically a night when any self-respecting Geordie wants to be inside St James's Park. Here's Maloney. Thompson, and Bramble comes across for Newcastle.
Yeah, Sir John Hall said about Alan Shearer that he has an unquenchable determination to be the very best. And how true that is.
Amiobi. Mulgrew didn't clear. And Zogbia. It's only Chopra inside the penalty area. Behind from Varga. And different pockets of supporters in the ground seem to be holding their own internal competition as to who can produce the most noise and colour and movement. Emre. Dublin behind, and now the other side of the ground gets a chance. A very warm round of applause for Emre.
He's not supposed to be working this hard at the end of the season, is he? From one side to the other just to take the corner.
There's been some doubt about whether Emre will stay. The thought here is that European football will tempt him to. Out by Dublin. Carr. Amiobi for Bramble. Not often is he on the right wing. And a chance for Chopra! Poured away. Combination of Dion Dublin and David Marshall on the line, denying Michael Chopra. Now Boomsong on the left wing. Unzogbia.
A little more pace on it, and I think it would have found the net. I think Varga might have played a little part in that as well, John. He might have got a little half block near post.
Unlike so many testimonials, there is a tempo to this game. There is an element, at least, of cut and thrust. Here's Mulgrew. Lennon. Petrov. He's put in a transfer request after 7 years with Celtic. Dion Dublin. Took a deflection, it's a corner.
Yeah, I think Shea Given was alive to it. I think he was on hand had it been low enough to deal with it. A decent strike though by Dublin. Yeah, it just sat up lovely for him, and I'm not quite sure who it nicked, but this is the goalkeeper got a touch to it. It bounced, and Dublin tried to help out, but that's great reactions from Marshall to get there.
Thompson with this. Header was by Boomsong. He's still getting a mixed reception. It is noticeable how much more comfortable Titus Bramble has been in the latter part of the season with Craig Moore alongside him. Carr. Looking for Nzogbia. Babayaro. Now it is Charles Nzogbia. He's just received his first call-up for the French under-21s. Emre. Was arrowing towards Chopra. And McManus almost diverted it past Marshall.
Could so easily have gone in, and had it been just inside the post, there's nothing the goalkeeper's going to do with that one. He got lucky there, McManus. And it's not the greatest delivery in the world from Emre. Always gave the defender a chance, and he was lucky.
Emre's corner, yeah, swung out of play before coming back in. It is more difficult for him as a left footer, taking them from that side. David Marshall is one of these three players. Now, maybe I've got this wrong, Jim, but I find it extraordinary that three players selected by Scotland for the Kirin Cup in Japan have been withdrawn to play in 2 testimonial games. Am I missing something?
Very unusual. Don't ask me to explain it.
Thompson. I wish I hadn't now.
Thanks for that, by the way.
That was the hospital pass. Maybe he's getting ready for the coaching and managerial career that surely lies ahead, but Alan Shearer is taking this very seriously down on the touchline. feels that people have paid good money and want to see a good game. Zurawski. Here's Lennon. Varga. Now Maloney, who's reckoned to be as good a young player as there is in Scotland right now. Wilson came from Dundee United in January. Again, Maloney. Thompson. Zurawski. Tumbled over by Bramble. Celtic free kick.
He'll be a little annoyed, I think, with himself, Titus Bramble, because, you know, Zurawski's going towards the corner. There's no real danger. No need to make contact. You've got him where you want him. And I think that one of the little things that you would hope with that extra year will disappear from Titus Bramble's play. You know, the more he matures, that extra little bit of experience will give him more composure.
Thompson. McManus. He's another of those pulled out of the Scotland squad. Now, with so many famous faces around the ground tonight, it is a roving reporter's delight. And we can join Ned Bolting now with Warren Barton.
That's right, John, another former teammate of Alan Shearer, and that's what interests me, Warren. What's he like in the dressing room?
In what way? No, I think he's very much a professional man. He's an honest man, and when you look around the change room, you've got people like him in front of you, you know you've got a chance of winning games, and it's fitting today that the people have turned up. The only thing that's disappointing, I know he would have loved to have obviously played more of the game, but it's a great occasion and fitting to him because he's been a great ambassador for the whole place.
We just saw I think they've got another corner. They're beginning to turn the screw a little bit.
I mean, that's the thing with Celtic. They do turn up and they play a game. You know, a lot of testimonials you go and people just go through the motions, but they turn up in their numbers. And as I said, it's been a great atmosphere, and hopefully we'll be in for a good game.
This one won't go in. We'll hand back to the commentator. Thanks, man.
Gordon Strachan's pretty animated. It's Alan Thompson. And there's a bit of climbing there.
I think he'll be saying to his players, don't waste the opportunity. It's a chance of good experience against, you know, tough Premiership opposition. Enjoy it and make the most of it, learn from it. There's certainly climbing going on there from McManus.
Carr. Expecting a host of changes at half-time and through the course of the second half. Maximum of 11 allowed for each side. Sven would love this. Well, next Wednesday, the biggest game of the club season is live on ITV1. Glamour aplenty in the Champions League final. And before that, here on ITV4 on Saturday night, Kevin Mitchell defends his IBF Intercontinental Super Featherweight title. That's live from Bethnal Green at 9. Here's Steve Carr, chance for Newcastle. Block was by Stephen McManus. Lennon helping out. Petrov. Be a big loss to Celtic if he departs. Amiobi. He's grown in stature and some confidence. He's almost benefited from the fact that Alan Shearer hasn't been able to play the last 3 games of the season. Been more of a focus on him, and he's responded with a number of important goals. Zurawski.
I think it'll be a key area for Newcastle next season, as well as they've done under Glenn Roeder. I think they'd still like to score more goals. I think 16 times in the Premiership they failed to register. In the season just gone, they'll want to improve on that, definitely. It'd be interesting to see what activity there is in the transfer market for a striker.
Babayaro. Zogbia. Emre. There's Varga, mistake, but the flag is up for offside, and that lets the Slovak international off the hook.
And he knows it, that little wry smile. Probably just half a yard he is. And Varga can breathe a lot easier after that.
Boomsong, now Bramble, with Zurawski lurking. Assistance from Babayaro. Nzogbia. Dublin. Andy Fye is being made ready. It may be that injury is catching up with Lee Clark.
I think Steve Watson might be just feeling his hamstring as well, John. Left leg, he seems to be...
Dublin. Here's Maloney. Now there are possibilities, and it was driven into the right area.
Yeah, Thompson came in from the far side, made a decent run, and it was just a little too much pace from Sean Maloney on the ball to allow him to get there.
Well, it is Steve Watson that's coming off. Doesn't look wildly happy about it. In fact, he's turned his back on the bench. Insubordination in a testimonial. And for now, he's staying where he is. Youngest ever player to appear for Newcastle United when he made his debut at 16 and a half. Zurawski, Stilian Petrov, pulled it.
He was closed down, he hurried it in the end. Emre did quite well. Just wonder whether, you speculate as to whether he'd leave Petrov. Champions League, whether that would be the lure to keep him, I don't know.
Well, there's an interesting discussion on the field because Lee Clark was also gesticulating towards the bench saying, I'm not fully fit, but it is Steve Watson. And this is the first of many standing ovations during the course of the evening for the players as they leave the pitch. Good servant of Newcastle. 7 years he spent here, but Andy Fye, the Senegalese, comes on to replace him after half an hour.
And Lee Clark is being sent into the wide right position.
Babayaro. The weather, the underfoot conditions, the mood, the atmosphere so different to what was probably Shearer's darkest night on this ground, the famous occasion in a Tyne-Wear derby against local rival Sunderland, where Ruud Gullit, with a tenuous grasp on the manager's job, left him out, named him as a sub. Amiobi, well held by Marshall, and within a matter of days, Gullit was out of the club.
Yeah, he did well, Amiobi. Good ball over the top from Clark, who drifted inside again, but the angle was always against him, and he couldn't see whether there was any support present.
Free kick for Newcastle. Emre still struggling with that thigh.
Well, I don't know what. The contact was slight, really, and he's gone down holding his thigh. So maybe it was a little pull.
Thompson. And boos because of the Liverpool anthem being sung by the Celtic fans. Boomsong. Celtic also lay claim to You'll Never Walk Alone. When they sang it at Old Trafford 2 nights ago, it was a particularly provocative gesture. Collision between Amiobi and Wilson, but 3,000 of them and many hundreds more in Newcastle without tickets are determined to enjoy themselves. And now here comes the retaliatory chorus of the Blaydon races. Wilson. It's beyond Dublin and Carr. Proud to be black and white, and pleased to see the return in those colours of Gary Speed. An acolyte of Shearer's for his 6.5 years here. And this time it is Lee Clark that makes way. Clark, who came here as reserve team coach at the start of the season and has ended up playing 25 games. And they just love Gary Speed here. The very model of a modern midfield player.
Absolutely, no surprise the volume in that cheer. They love him here. What a servant he was for the club. Superb, great professional as well.
Still going strong with Bolton Wanderers.
Indeed.
742 senior appearances and counting. Two other guest players, former Newcastle colleagues we've yet to see, Les Ferdinand and Rob Lee. And Rob Lee's appearance is going to be restricted to 20 minutes because he's playing in the playoffs for Wycombe on Saturday. Babayara. Fai and Amiobi are in central positions. And Zogbia, Speed's in there as well. Oh, and what an introduction to the game that could have been for Gary Speed.
Well, he seems surprised by it. Alan Shearer sitting in the front side of it. I think he'll be giving a bit of stick to his old teammate after that. It's a great ball in from Nzogbia, and he just seemed to get himself in the wrong position, Speed, to his enjoyment.
For a player who spent most of the season in the holding role for Bolton, to be as far forward as that in open play, bring back some memories.
Not a complete stranger, though, to tucking the odd goal away. I mean, he was good once he got on the end of things. Certainly when I played with him at Leeds, brilliant on set plays as well. A lot was geared for him.
Never happier than when he's got a ball at his feet. Zogbia. There's Chopra. The idea was nice.
That's what Glenn Roder will want to see. Some nice link-up play, or attempted link-up play anyway, between those two, Chopra and Amiobi.
Dublin. It's 37 now, Dion Dublin. Wilson. Lennon. Dublin. Header back by Carr. It's good of Neil Lennon to turn out tonight, bearing in mind that he was kicked in the head so famously by Alan Shearer in that game between Leicester and Newcastle at Filbert Street back in 1998. All sorts of folklore attaches itself to that moment. Suggestions in Graham Kelly's autobiography. He was then running the FA that Shearer actually said he wouldn't go to the World Cup if he was banned for that. He wasn't. He did. He skippered the side, and the rest is history. Amiobi skipping in field, but no power.
Pity. I think he scuffed the shot a little bit. I think he just caught the ground slightly, Amiobi, once he'd cut inside on his left foot. But it was nice work to create the space and afford himself the opportunity.
Shearer, of course, has always been able to dish it out as well as take it. Although in the course of his career, he's been sent off only twice, and only one of those stuck in terms of a suspension being issued.
So many things to admire about the great man, but for me, John, you know, having retired through injury, the injuries he's had, I mean, the cruciate knee ligament, that was so serious, and to come back so strong for that, I think he was probably lucky in the time it happened because medical advances have been made. But
that young boy ready for tomorrow. Tomorrow is Black and White Day in Newcastle, when schools and offices and shops are given special dispensation both to pupils, customers, employees to dress in black and white, to wear face paint and to celebrate the contribution of Alan Shearer to society in these parts over the past decade. His word that even the Tyne Bridge is going to be decked out in black and white. And yet, you know, Jim, whisper it quietly, but Newcastle began life as a football club in red and white stripes. Bramble. It's too strong for Charles and Zogbia. Petrov. And Zurawski's made a good run to his right, trying to stay onside. Thompson. And cover from Boumsong.
That was a chance for Celtic. For a moment they had 4-on-3. Had the advantage.
Emre. Carr. Speed. That's a nice ball. Oh, and Shola Amiobi's touch was just what he didn't want.
He knows that really he should have been setting himself up to either find Chopra, who'd made the run again inside, or dispatch one across the keeper. But there was two nice pieces of skill from both strikers. That's a great touch from Chopra to begin with. And this is a good little ball. He runs back onside. It's clever movement from Amiobi, and he should be getting that out of his feet and hitting it, and I won't need to tell him that.
Dublin. Now Zurawski. A bit stronger, that's better from Boumsong. Thoroughly enjoyable occasion this so far. Enough in the football match to retain interest, but it's what's going on around the pitch as well. The fevered emotion and the sheer warmth that is making it so engaging. His speed. Babayaro. Emre. Block was by Petrov that time. And the bounce didn't favour Thompson, it did favour Carr. 5. Babayaro. Ran away from speed, and 2 Petrov.
I think it's only natural, John, as well in games like this that players are a little more liberal with their movement. You know, they'll drift all over the place. I'd like to see Nzogbia just hold a wider position. Got a great cross in for Gary Speed before. I think he's a player who's made great strides in the season that's just passed.
Speed. Carr. Not anticipating any stoppage time at the end of the first half. A brief visit from Derek Wright, the Newcastle physio, but Lee Clark was ushered off the field of play to receive treatment. Zurawski, Maloney, Thompson. Celtic beaten 4 times all season, that's all. They're used to winning, and they're used in the environment of the Scottish Premier League in particular to winning well. Theirs is a season that began way back on the 27th of July with that awful 5-0 defeat at Artmedia in Bratislava in the Champions League, from which they so nearly recovered in the second leg. They won that 4-0. And Gordon Strachan was scratching his head in disbelief after his first 2 games in charge. The 5-0 in Bratislava, and then his first SPL game ended 4-4 at Motherwell. Wondered what he'd let himself in for. And Zogbia. Chopra, chance for a shot, deflection on it, and a corner.
McManus did well to throw himself in the way. Maybe Michael Chopra could have been just a little quicker. I mean, this is what we've seen a lot this season from Nzogbia. Very lively. Just a little bit too slow, I think, in getting the shot away, Chopra. Good block up.
Well, where is Gary Speed? There is the answer, with Bramble's right arm patting him on the back. It's beyond Speed this time, though. Chopra, whose head met it, but not meaningfully. Zogbia. And still. And that's a good effort. And David Marshall maybe earned his luck.
Brilliant. He's suddenly come to life, hasn't he, Sharon Zogbia? But he has this capability as he picks it up here. He's been doing this a lot, drifting inside, so I'm saying he should hold the left wing. Maybe not now with skill like that. Work the opening really well. Got a lot of venom behind the shot. And I think Marshall's done extremely well to get just enough on it to knock it onto the bar.
It's little wonder that Arsenal are supposed to be interested. But Alan Shearer will want Zogbia to remain here. Song. Babayaro. Half-time is nigh. Emre. And Newcastle have come the closer to scoring. Speed. And Maloney doing enough.
All centre forwards love good wingers, good crossing wingers as well, don't they? I remember in his Blackburn days he had Ripley and Wilcox, the SAS, himself and Sutton, Chris Sutton.
Glenn Roeder says that if Newcastle win tonight, he's the manager. If they lose, Shearer is. Half-time, rich round of applause. Plenty to admire in the football match that's unfolded in front of us, and even more to savour in the reception afforded Alan Shearer. As Jimmy Armfield said recently, he's the last of a dying breed, an old-fashioned centre-forward, a boy's own hero who would have featured on 1 million cigarette cards. No goals as yet. Shearer yet to reappear. That too is something to look forward to. Half-time in the Alan Shearer testimonial at the Cathedral of St James in Newcastle. The Newcastle United 11 0, Celtic 0.
The first half at St James's, just away from the madding crowd for a moment. Mr. Shearer himself, I've got to ask you first of all about that lovely reception before the match. I mean, for a guy that doesn't display a great deal of emotion around your football, there must have been a little bit of a frog in the throat moment.
Yeah, there was, to be honest. Yeah, I would assume there'll be as well when I'm walking around at the end of the game. I mean, that reception was incredible, and it was great to see them all decked out in their black and white scarves, and that was fantastic.
And nice for the family too. We saw them before the match and heard from them. They'll have enjoyed that. They'll take that away.
The two girls were a little bit nervous. I'm not too sure the little lad, he didn't like the noise, the lad, I don't think, but the two girls were a bit nervous, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I can only imagine, as we watch the scenes here, I mean, not many players are great watchers of football. You've probably sadly had to watch too many matches through injury in your career. Not a great watcher?
No, I don't. I mean, there's only one place to be, which is out there on the field. And every player and every ex-player will tell you that. Nothing replaces that. And it is tough when you sat watching. And as you said, I've had my fair share of injuries, so I've had to get used to it now and again.
Although I did watch you peering over Glenn Roeder's shoulder, watching what's being written down by Terry McDermott, picking up tips.
Got to learn, haven't you? You never stop learning, do you?
It's not a bad game as well. A bit short chances, but you can see both teams, both coaches. Everybody wants to make it as competitive as you can on these occasions because the fans deserve that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the fans have paid good money to come in here, and although it is all going to charity, they still want to see a bit of entertainment. And to be fair to the lads, they've done it right. I hope there's a couple of goals in the second half to give them something to shout about.
Well, of course, what everybody is hoping, knee permitting, that you can make some kind of entrance yourself as well. Will there be perhaps time just at the end to see a little bit of you?
I'm going in to see the referee now and see if I can speak very, very kindly to him. And he might just give me a penalty in the last 5 or 10 seconds, fingers crossed.
Well, let's hope so. Well, listen, we'll see you after the match, and hopefully we will see you, for everybody concerned, on the pitch. Annie Townsend, of course, with me this evening. Thank you, Alan. We'll see you after. Nice night for an excellent ambassador for football.
He deserves it. He really does. Not every player gets the chance to say goodbye to the game and to their own fans like Alan has and tonight. But goodness me, nobody deserves it more, because he's been I was fortunate enough to be in his first game down at Southampton. Yep, to play with Al, and right from then, you know, a great pro, a model professional, went about his business in the right way, played hard but always played fair, and just as you said, a great ambassador for football in this country in general, a great family man. We've seen that as well tonight. How important that is to him. And of course, there's a long life after football, Matt. Yes. And it's time now to give them back a little bit of something as well. A little bit of time with them.
Absolutely. Although I guess he won't be short of options in the years that come. Just before we continue the chat in here, let's, as you've seen all programme really, the tributes are flowing thick and fast here at St James's Park. You wouldn't really expect us to not hear from his former manager, another Mr Newcastle really. So Bobby Robson now with Ned Bolting.
It's already, you know, a great night, and I don't know, probably the best is to come after the match, but you know, he left here surprisingly. It's amazing how a player like Alan Shearer can not sign for the local club when he was, you know, black and white through and through, like I was, and he gave up the choice and the chance of going to Manchester United to come home, you know, to come back to the North East. He always wanted to wear, I'm told, the black and white shirt. He always wanted to wear 9. He always wanted to score goals at St James's Park. He always wanted to captain Newcastle United Football Club, and that's what he came home for. And you know, he's got the record, the Premiership record. It'll take some beating. And he's also broken the Jackie Milburn record, which because Jackie was in my era. I'm obviously older than Alan. I'm twice as old as Alan actually, but so my hero was Jackie Milburn, who I loved. He was iconic. But Alan's the same. Alan will never be forgotten here. He'll just go on and on and on, and I'm sure the club will, I hope so, put up a statute for him in remembrance of him and forevermore. And he deserves that. He deserves never to be forgotten.
And I'm sure he won't be. Gordon Strachan, the Celtic manager, now joins us. A first half that perhaps won't live long in the memory. Not certainly like Mr Shearer's career, but I'm sure you'd want to pass a few words more on the player that's not yet playing, rather than the game at hand, if you like.
What first half?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, we've got a problem because we played Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. I think the two sides are showing too much respect for him. I think we need to send on some young kids to liven it up a wee bit. To be honest.
Do we need you and Shearer and some of the old souls on, just chucking a few tackles in? Was that what you missed? A bit of bite?
Yeah. But you're just missing that, you know, the players in between having one touch and having too many touches. That's the problem. Hopefully the game will settle. And the game on Tuesday got better in the second half, so hope they give you a better game in the second half. But I think the players really just don't want to injure each other this time of the season.
And your thoughts on Alan Shearer, the player that now comes to a stop?
Well, you just can't believe he's going to come to a stop, because I think since you and me, Alan Shearer's been about all the time, scoring goals and knocking people down and taking knocks himself, and just generally being a fantastic pro. And all the centre halves I've played with and managed, if they ever looked at a Newcastle team sheet and he was not on it, you should have seen the joy in that dressing room. You know, at least they could go out the night and try and pull some birds, and those would be in contact. You know, and they knew they wouldn't be and somebody scored a hat trick against them.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Well, listen, we hope for energy in the second half, goals, commitment, all the things that perhaps haven't exactly been there in the first half.
Assistant manager. He's paid 14,000 to be the assistant manager. The wee guy sitting beside me, and I'm blaming him. Yeah, he's been absolutely useless.
Quite wise. Well, listen, thank you very much for those kind words. Thank you. We look forward to the second half, which of course is coming in a couple of minutes. See you soon. Well, while you were away, there was a penalty shootout. England versus Scotland here at St James's. Your old mate Andy Mr Gascoigne, look at that beautiful finish. No danger, and England won it 4-1. He said he was nervous as well.
I saw him up the tunnel just before he came out to take that, and he was panicking big time, Matt, to be honest with you. But he's managed to tuck it in the corner.
He has. He's done very well. I think, as Gordon was saying, it's one of those in-between games. In a testimonial, not always the brightest of games, but with this bigger crowd, the players want to do something.
Yeah, they do. You can tell they're wanting to put on a bit of a show, but they also feel like their holidays around the corner. A lot of them are tired. Gordon said they played a lot of games in a short space of time. So, yes, they want to give people something to shout about, but the last thing they want to do, mate, is spend all summer on a treatment table. So they're just treading a little bit carefully.
I suspect as much as you can ever write a script in football, the script is kind of written. Not many goals, late penalty, maybe Alan Shearer involved.
I sincerely hope so. It'll be fantastic. I tell you, the roof is going to come off at that particular point in the night, Matt. If he doesn't reappear and maybe put the ball on that spot one more time, I think it'll work marvellously.
I'm not sure the knee's up to one of those crackers into the top left corner, but he'd probably have a word with the keeper and make sure.
I sincerely hope so. If the goalkeeper's if he's been tuned in well, he'll dive the wrong way.
Excellent stuff. More from touchline at the end of the game, but second half about to get underway. Let's rejoin Jim and John.
Well, as you can see, there are changes ahead of the start of this second half, as one would expect. There are 4 alterations for Celtic and 5 for the Newcastle 11. As we get underway, we'll run through those in their entirety for you. Starting with Celtic, it's John Hartson, who we saw for Dion Dublin. Paul Lawson, Paul Telfer and Stephen Pearson have come on. And accompanying Dublin off, Wilson the right back, Lennon in midfield, and the former Newcastle man, Alan Thompson. Here's Matty Pattison, one of the 5 new men for Newcastle. And he's a very good end to the Premiership season. South African born, still a teenager. Andy Fye doing the mopping up. In full, it's Harper for Shay Given, Ramage for Bramble, Elliott for Emre, Taylor for Amiobi, and Pattison for Nzogbia. I think.
I'll go with that. I won't try and correct you on that. I just think if you're Boomsong or Taylor, who are now playing at the back for Newcastle, you didn't really want to see John Hartson coming on.
No. Similar in physical approach, at least to Shearer. You're a central defender, you know he's around. 20 goals this season. Here's Carr. Ramage. That'll be a goal kick. Well, we saw Gaza convert that penalty to give England a 4-1 win over Scotland in the half-time shootout. And I'm delighted to say that Paul Gascoigne is with Matt.
He is. He's in between myself and Mr. Townsend. We've got him buttoned up. Excellent penalty.
Well, you know, I must admit, I bottled the one in the World Cup, but this one I couldn't bottle it out because I had no chance. Even though I had to be in the Celtic end as well, so I had to score this one. But no, it's fantastic because I just had Andy, I was under pressure because the players that was on my side were keeping on top corner, and I'm like, oh no, I have to score. So I must admit I was probably nervous.
What about the occasion, Gaz? Fabulous for Alan.
Well, you know, Andy, I don't think you'll ever see another testimonial as big as this, you know, for Alan. And like when you seen everything, his Shearer up was there, and you had number 9 there, number 9 and everything. I was good because they forgot about me for half an hour.
Well, you know how special these fans are, how special this city is for footballers.
It is, I mean, to be, you know, like, good luck to Glenn if he gets a job, and to be like, to play for Newcastle tonight, it's frightening, you know, you wear the black and white shirt, it's frightening. And they're playing against top side tonight as well, Celtic, but just to play the crowd, you know, even sometimes when you're losing, they're always behind you. I remember playing for Newcastle, honestly, Glenn, I think we're not far from going down, and we were getting beat up for Liverpool 5-1. I think we're 4th from bottom, and they were saying we're going to win the league, and that's what they like, you know. Just to play in front of these fans must have been fantastic, especially for Alan.
Yeah. I thought we'd take you up and see the Celtic fans just before you go.
Well, you know, I know I've got my neck up a racing, but I didn't fancy my head getting torn off as well.
I'll tell you what, we've seen a tear from your eye in the years. What about Shearer tonight? Any chance of a little tear?
Well, he's a tough guy, but I reckon he's shed a few tears on the quiet. Definitely without a shadow of his doubt, you know. In fact, he's probably been crying with his bank account as well. But not tonight's money. I know tonight's money's all going to charity, but yeah, what a folk hero he's been, you know. But not even that, to come here in the short time he's had, I know 10 years, but to break his record, it's phenomenal, million stuff, you know, and to do it in his hometown, in front of his family and his friends, you cannot top that. And you know, I bet even Alan now is thinking like, phew, I might stay for another year and put my boots back on. I bet he's thinking that, because that's what I would do.
I think Gordon Strachan's having a look at it.
Well, if I had a testy and I said I'm giving up now, and I had this, I think, nah, listen, I'll have another one next year. I've got another year ahead of us.
It's a good shout. Thank you very much, Paul. Best of luck. 2 Geordie legends, Shearer and Gascoigne. Can't do much better than that. Back to Jim and John.
And without giving too much of a secret away, Gazza's penalty may not be the last one that we see this evening. There is almost a serious point about the discussion of Shearer's future, though. Had he not had the knee injury at Sunderland, which has wiped him out at the end of the season, given the problems with Rooney and Owen, would there not have been a clamour to get him to the World Cup for one last hurrah?
I'm sure there would have been a clamour, but I don't think he would have shifted. He's very, very stubborn. The one good thing I'm glad about is that, you know, when he wanted to quit last season, he was talked out of it. I think he had to, just to beat the record that existed. I think it would have been criminal almost had he not carried on for one more season, just to make sure he got past Jocky Milburn's.
That he achieved back on February the 4th against Portsmouth, and his final tally rests at 206. There's Chopra, who's 203 behind Shearer in the Newcastle Gold Stakes. Gordon Strachan made mention at half-time of the gentleman who paid £14,000 in a charity auction to be his assistant tonight, and there he is, Paul Kavanagh, a Glasgow businessman, and the money is going to FIFA's SOS Children's Villages campaign, for which Gordon Strachan is the ambassador in Scotland.
Well, credit to him, John, because guys that put that kind of money forward, knowing it's going to such a good cause, I think it's tremendous.
Here's Maloney, and that's a corner. Whoever designed this ground was a genius. For the retention of noise, there wasn't such a thing as a bad seat in the house. Corner was deep and Varga was rising. Seems to have injured himself in the process.
Maybe he just cut the header wrong. He seems to be holding his head. I think at the last minute he was just knocked a little off balance, and as a consequence couldn't steer it where he wanted. He's just been lent it. In fact, maybe he just caught somebody else's head. Boom Song, he might have just cut Boom Song's head and picked up a little knock for his troubles.
He developed a reputation as a somewhat hapless defender in his time with Sunderland. Coming back in green and white rather than red and white. Steve Harper about to clear the unique match ball. Limited edition of 30 manufactured tonight, all are numbered. They will surely be auctioned off for charity. Alan Shearer, as and when he reappears, will also be wearing a limited edition pair of boots. So every opportunity being taken to raise more money for charity tonight. All tonight's proceeds from this game, around about £1.5 million going to charity, and you can contribute too to Alan Shearer's chosen good causes and be in with a chance of winning one of 5 pairs of those limited edition Umbro boots, signed by the man himself, by going to our website, which is on your screen there, itv.com/football. Here's Luque, who's appeared on the field of play now, which takes the number of substitutes employed by Newcastle to 9. The PA announcer, 8 minutes into the second half, just catching up with the half-time changes.
You were a bit quicker than him, John, I'll give you that.
It's always a job for me, I suppose, isn't it? This is Petrov. Lawson. Petrov. Hartson. Petrov. Free kick.
That's some of the best football of the match we've just seen there. It was lovely 1- and 2-touch stuff from Celtic. And Petrov has just tried to create the room to get a shot on target, and he was taken deliberately as well by Elliott.
So the number 2 goalkeeper, who is the most loyal in top-flight football. 13 seasons he's been here, Steve Harper, in which time he's played only 65 games. But he's going to be faced by possibly one of Scotland's best free-kick exponents. There are 3 lining up, but Maloney is a star from these set pieces. Mulgrew also fancies it. Stilian Petrov's in attendance. They're going to give it to the youngster, Mulgrew, and that was why.
That's a great save as well by Harper. I mean, he's guarding that side. Sometimes keepers try to second-guess the taker and go to the other side, and he did take just a step across to the other side, so he did really well to react in time, because that's Destin just inside the post. That's a tremendous save from Mulgrew.
Paul Telfer will take this corner. Header out by Speed. I think it's noisier now than it was in the first half, you know. The Leazes end trying to outsing the Gallagate to our right, which Newcastle are now attacking with Luque. And there's a man who's got a bit of convincing to do if he's to win over the Newcastle fans.
Well, he's got the talent. He probably doesn't really feel like a Newcastle player. Remember, you and I watched him for Real Mallorca a few years ago, Champions League. Put up a hell of a good performance against an Arsenal defence that night.
Memory serves, I think Ashley Cole was sent off for bringing him down. Then he went on with great success to Deportivo for a couple of years, but here he's been driven by injury. Hamstring problems have limited to just 9 starts this season.
Yeah, as Gordon Strachan referred to when he was asked by Matt, you know, what first half. I think the changes have just livened things up as well. There's a little more movement out there and a little more energy to the game now.
Here's Chopra. Fire's made a good run inside him. And it was unfortunate that Chopra's cross took the deflection. Petrov. Looking for Maloney. Fine. Chopra. Newcastle attacking their favoured end. The end where Alan Shearer, in the days before seats, used to stand as a child, telling me before kick-off he once queued 9 hours to see Kevin Keegan's debut here at the age of just 14. Many impressions, only one genuine article. Speed. Patterson has adopted a wide position and is sticking there. This is Petrov. Charlie Mulgrew. Stephen Pearson. Maloney. Lawson. One of the younger brigade at Celtic. It's a nice touch from Maloney to Mulgrew. Pearson. Sliding in was Chopra, and it's a foul, which wouldn't have looked out of place in a league match.
Oh, but I think that's a sign of the extra competitiveness we're seeing in the second half. Yeah, there was a little bit more in that from Chopra. And you're right, the atmosphere has just picked up a wee bit.
Well, the flags are being waved as if we were in Spain.
Tremendous spectacle.
That's just fantastic. Shearer swallowing hard. It's a magnificent response to a magnificent player. In the meantime, there's a football match, but really they've come to make noise, to lend colour, to lend emotion, and for once I think there's a danger that the guard may slip this evening. we may never see the like of this night again.
You know, it's always been brilliant about the man as well, John. You know, the humility, the feet on the ground. He never really changed like that, even though he had every right to get a little big-headed and get above his station. He never did.
Could have signed for Newcastle at the age of 13. Went for a trial when he was playing for Newcastle boys at Benfield Park. They were short of a goalkeeper, and he volunteered to go in goal. And they never saw the true Alan Shearer at that age. And Jack Hickson, the scout, the 85-year-old, who's somewhere in the crowd here tonight watching on so proudly, took him to Southampton instead, and Laurie McMenemy, who was the manager then, signed him as a schoolboy on the back of him scoring 5 in a trial at the Dale. Newcastle made 2 subsequent attempts to sign Alan Shearer and got him second time around for a then world record fee. And how he's repaid them.
You see a lot of goal scorers celebrate their goals now with aggression at times and an angry face, but when Alan Shearer stuck him away, there was always a big smile, that raised arm in the air, and I think he always celebrated the right and proper way.
Chopra, Patterson, chance! Good save, David Marshall.
Brilliant. That's a great little move as well. Cracking movement from Patterson and a lovely little ball by Chopra. I think Marshall's excelled as well in that circumstance, because when he plays the initial pass, Patterson, look at him make the ground up. Now he's gone right through the heart of the Celtic defence and he's just tried to tuck it. OK, it was near enough to the keeper, but it's an instinctive reaction by Marshall. That's lovely football.
Matty Patterson, who, like one of his mentors, like the talisman of the evening, has suffered 2 serious knee injuries that could have ended his career. There's speed. Here's Patterson. And there's much more incision about the attacking play of both sides in this second half.
Youngsters who want to impress more than old pros who wanted to take it a little easier tonight.
Chopra trying to prove that he could contribute in the Shearer role next season. Hasn't got a contract at the moment. Here's Ramage. 5. Carr. Chopra. Too strong. Just, in fact, kept in by Carr, which was good play by him, but Luque couldn't get on the end of the cross. Sort of ball that Carr could have been forgiven for giving up the chase of on a night like this, but credit to him. Hardly. Much more than an ordinary citizen of Tyneside, Alan Shearer. His father, also Alan, shuns publicity, is indeed a sheet metal worker. He's sitting in his normal seat as a season ticket holder this evening. And Matty Patterson continues to impress by winning a corner.
Well, he looks like he's trying to make up for lost time, as you said, with those terrible injuries he suffered. He's made a very good impact on the game, very positive.
Patterson charged with the responsibility of taking the corner. Andy Farr. Celtic will try and let that run. That's good play by Michael Chopra. And it's ultimately cleared by Varga. Carr. Speed. Boomsong. And now Paul Telfer. Hartson. Pearson.
They're a bit rattled, aren't they, Celtic, all of a sudden? I think it's the worst thing they could have done. That free kick going so close with Harper making the save, because Newcastle, this Newcastle 11 have responded really, really well since.
Robbie Elliott doesn't often get this far forward. and Chopra was there lurking, but it's Marshall's ball. It's not going to be long before we see two more of the great heroes of the mid-90s, Rob Lee and Les Ferdinand, both still registered as current league players. With respect to the football crowds up and down the land, there are not many gatherings that could match this. Football has a unique place in the hearts of all those on Tyneside. The ground stands on top of a hill overlooking the city, seen by every citizen every day, and has such a place at the heart of life here. Which is why Shearer's contribution means so very much. Here's Telfer, Boomsong, Lawson, Telfer, for waiting, and Hartson. It was a decent challenge on him, it needed to be. Hartson wants a corner, it is a goal kick.
That's what they tried to do with the last couple of crosses in, just pick out the head of John Hartson, and he's probably just shepherded enough, just marshalled enough to deny him a better opportunity there. He appreciates the delivery though.
Graham Taylor is standing by, the man who gave Alan Shearer his first England cap, and he's with Ned.
And he's been stood next to me for the last 15 minutes, just watching on in, awestruck silence. It's not often you get to see something like this, is it?
I've never seen a testimonial game like this in all of my years in football. If people talk about football being about medals and trophies, it's not, it's about glory. I think it was Danny Blanchflower that once said that. This is about glory. This is about a local boy who came home and played for his team. And this is the response to him. I've never seen anything like it. It's fantastic. The atmosphere is wonderful. And Alan Shearer is a legend in his own lifetime. There's no doubt about that. But that's what it's about. Local boy, made good, came home, played for his team and delivered the goods. And now all of these people are showing their appreciation to him. It really is fantastic.
We've just seen Rob Lee there come on to take his place in the Newcastle team, and just a little reminder that even though they didn't win anything, that was a hell of a good team to watch, wasn't it?
It's an excellent team. I mean, the Keegan side, which everybody will talk about, the way they played their football as well, and they come in, but the problem is that you can't help but feel so sad sometimes for these supporters. They're wonderful people. I came up today and then people reckon they want to show you where you are. They're so friendly about it. They live their football. But Shearer is a god.
Let's get back to the pitch. I think Les Ferdinand is about to come on. Thanks, Graham. Thank you.
In a moment. But Rob Lee is out there at the age of 40 plus. Arguably Shearer's closest friend in football. They were pretty much inseparable, and it was Hullet's treatment of Rob Lee that so incensed Alan Shearer when the Dutchman was the manager here. Rob Lee, who is still going strong for Wycombe Wanderers and will play for them on Saturday against Cheltenham in the League Two playoff semi-final. Stilian Petrov comes off, replaced by Ross Wallace. The number of substitutions for each side now 9 for the Newcastle 11 and 5 by Celtic. And Paul Telfer finds himself pushed forward in the rearrangement. And at the next break in play, we are going to see Les Ferdinand. Here's Lee. Newcastle, who looked so likely to win the Premier League title in Alan Shearer's first season. Kevin Keegan would have loved it. So would much of the neutral support in the country because of the style of football that Keegan's team was playing. But that and 2 losing cup finals, as close as Alan Shearer ever got to silverware with his beloved Newcastle.
think, was it 2-4-3 defeats at Anfield?
Successive seasons, yeah.
Yeah, during that spell. I mean, I think everybody that was a non-Liverpudlian would sympathise with Newcastle's cause at the time. So close.
But there were great days. The 5-0 dismissal of Manchester United here. That chipped goal by Philippe Albert to round it off. Here's Ramage. Here's a chance. There's a goal. And that's more like it. Albert Luque scores at the Gallowgate end and is applauded by the man of the moment.
What a strike. You can tell he's enjoyed that. Not too unlike Bramble's winner against Chelsea. He really blasted the volley into the top of the net. Great moment for him because he's had his troubles here and maybe a sign of better things to come. And Celtic just went to sleep. I wondered whether he'd actually drifted into an offside position, but no, he held his run beautifully, and what a finish that is. Marshall's got absolutely no chance. Ramage, great little ball over the top. Smash and goal.
And you may have heard a roar as we watch this replay of Luque's goal. And the reason is that following the acclaim for Newcastle going in front, Les Ferdinand has joined the fray for the final 20 minutes. The man who gave up the number 9 shirt to allow Shearer to have it. 50 goals in 84 games. One of the few players with a better goals to games ratio in a Newcastle shirt than Alan Shearer. And between them, they scored 49 times in the season that they had together. Pearson. And there is enough by way of competitive juice in the Celtic players that they won't take this lying down. Maybe a testimonial, but Celtic do not like to lose. They were disappointed to go down to a Cristiano Ronaldo goal at Old Trafford on Tuesday in Roy Keane's match, and they won't be wanting a repeat of that. Telfer. Mulgrew. McManus. Here's Hartson. Pearson. Maloney. Quickly in with Stephen Taylor. Great defensive hope for the future here at Newcastle. Maloney poised on the shoulder of the last defender. And when the ball is delivered, it's inaccurate. Speed. Patterson. Gary Speed. Speed, Ferdinand and Lee. For those that like to reminisce, all on the pitch at the same time. Ramage with the cross. Goalkeeper stayed at home. It's a nice shape on the ball in.
Well, I think Les Ferdinand in his heyday could well have been on the end of that. He can be forgiven for not reacting a little bit quicker now.
Ramage. Chopra. Ferdinand, as if to answer you, James.
Yeah, still life in him, and a lot of.
Alan Shearer, who has paid tribute to the role of his wife, Lania, in the support that she's given him. They met on a blind date when they were both teenagers in Southampton, and she couldn't understand a word that he said. But within a couple of years, they were married. And although the wedding was in Southampton, it was, appropriately enough, at St James's Church. Meanwhile, back in the spotlight, the Celtic free kick that Lawson is teeing up. seem to be paying a great deal of attention to the game, which may be connected with the fact that she doesn't particularly like football.
She's a TV star now. She knows she's on it.
He has been training the past 2 days. That left knee that gave way at Sunderland 23 days ago is going to be cranked back up into action one more time.
Yeah, he won't want to work it too hard though, John. You know, I think he has a promising golf career ahead as well, and he'll have plenty of time to play that, I think. Although we'll see what's announced after the game.
Hartson. Mo Camera, who's just appeared for Celtic, the former Burnley and Wolves fullback. Rob Lee. Luque for speed. And here's Celez.
They wanted him to shoot, didn't they?
They want Lee to shoot. Patterson. Elliott. Oh, that was arrowing towards Rob Lee. He's not scored for 3 years. He used to get his share from midfield for Newcastle and indeed for Charlton before them.
Good player, John. I played against him when he was in his Charlton days.
Chopra's ball in, and it was sliced by McManus away from Ferdinand.
He's doing his best, McManus. Hit one of those in the first half that just beat the post as well. Maybe just slipped a little bit as he tried to get something on it.
Something to tell the grandkids that you scored at the Gallagher end. Varga. Maloney. Now Telfer. Boomsong intervening.
I think maybe the Aberdeen and Roy Keane testimonial matches have probably taken a little bit of a toll on Celtic now, because it's pretty much one-way traffic in the match.
Celtic lost a 2-goal lead at Aberdeen on the final day of the SPL season last weekend. They have eased off the throttle since winning the title in early April, just one win in their last 5 fixtures. But 107 goals in all competitions this season, a 40th league title, 13th League Cup. Here's Chopra. Lee. Ramage. He's been one of the pluses for Newcastle this season, his emergence. Telfer. And here goes Maloney, and he's got the better of Ramage, and the referee is going to his pocket and then remembers it's a testimonial. He ran for 20 yards, ready to get a card out, and then thought, hang on a minute, this is Alan Shearer's big night.
And I thought it was going to be red, you know, because Maloney was clean through.
I mean, the penalty obviously is correct, but yeah, the card would have been most out of keeping.
Yeah, he's just always a little bit ahead, and Ramage did catch him.
Sean Maloney was brought down, and Sean Maloney makes it 1-1.
Well, you have to say it's somewhat against the run of play, but it was a great ball over the top to catch Newcastle out, and can't argue with the decision. I'm glad the referee didn't take anything out of his pocket, but it was pretty emphatic from Maloney. Picked himself up and stuck it away very, very well. Harper guesses right, but he's just lifted it above, and not a lot the keeper can do with it. That's a very good spot kick.
Now there's a game to be won. And Sean Maloney's penalty, his final contribution. He's impressed tonight, and this is 19-year-old midfielder Rocco Quinn.
I mean, I think Ramage knows he's always struggling, and Maloney gets a good touch, and he's trying to claim the referee by holding his hands up that, you know, I didn't really want to catch him, but he did.
Here's Lee. Mark Clattenburg would never have been welcome back at St James's Park. Even as a Newcastle fan, had he produced a red card for Peter Ramage in the Shearer testimonial. Here's Patterson, because of course the problem is that if it's reported, suspensions count.
Yeah. He's being assessed tonight, the referee?
He is?
Well, I think it was instinctive. I mean, thankfully not, but it was close.
To remind us all that this is Newcastle in mid-May. There's a chill wind blowing through the stadium now. Patterson. He looks a lively proposition, Matty Patterson.
He does, John. He's very direct. I mean, similar to Nzogby in some ways, very direct, got a bit of pace about him, skillful as well, and he nearly had a great moment himself, but for a good save from Marshall.
Drift out. It's a Newcastle ball. Newcastle have had things in recent weeks more or less all their own way at home. So Celtic have done well to get back on terms in this game. This is Telfer. And there's Hartson! And John Hartson is threatening to spoil the script. Now there's a game to be salvaged. A Shearer-like header from Hartson for Celtic, and they've come from behind in the space of 5 minutes.
Well, that's classic John Hartson. I mean, I think Alan Shearer would be proud of a finish like that himself. They've whipped a couple in looking for his head without any real success up to now. He's been well looked after. But once this is played in from Wilson, and he picks him out very well, that's good strength to hold off Boomsong. I think that's a tremendous centre-forward's header. Low to the right of the goalkeeper. Maybe Harper could have reacted a little bit sharper on one of his better nights, but got a hand to it. But a very, very good finish.
Well, there's a turn-up. And Newcastle, just as Celtic hated being behind, won't want to lose this, not on this occasion. And the crowd are probably as quiet as they've been at any stage. Here's Rocco Quinn.
Well, you go back, what, 10 minutes ago, it just didn't look part of the script. I think they're all shocked by it.
Shearer clan gathering to support Dad. Daughters Chloe and Holly, son Will, and a very awkward moment for Steve Harper. You can smile now.
I mean, Celtic have come right into it once they got their equaliser tonight, and that should have been just an easy clearance. He seemed to get caught in two minds, Harper, as to what to do with it in the end.
He doesn't do friendlies, he doesn't do testimonials. He does all-out attack and commitment, Hartson. Telfer. Lawson. Boomsong. Cleared by Ramage. Free kick for the foul on Ferdinand, and Celtic are preparing another change. Adam Virgo is going to come on, signed from Brighton last summer. Gary Speed. Patterson. Wallace. And Pearson's made a good run.
Very good run, and I think Wallace did extremely well just to delay the pass enough, and he timed it to perfection, and a disappointing end result. Should have kept that down maybe, Pearson.
Off comes Wilson, on goes Adam Virgo. He played both centre forward and centre back for Brighton last season. He's slotting in now at right back. Wallace. Hartson. Wallace. Paul Lawson. Galloping figure is Camara. Well, that was full of commitment from Stephen Taylor.
I don't think they want to concede a third, judging by that.
No, that was the tackle of a competitive match. One that might have brought a card in a competitive game. Studs were showing. It was this man, Taylor, who's now turning defence into what he hoped was going to be attack. Pearson. Hartson. Virgo goes on the outside. Luque didn't look. If he did, he didn't look hard enough. This is Hartson. Newcastle will be relieved to see that go behind. Alan Shearer going through the emotions of a manager on the touchline, which is what, before too long, he may prove to be. Thumbs up to start with, then a wonderful reception, very continental. Tear in the eye, and then a frown on the brow. At the moment, though, 2-1 down at home. There is such a feel-good factor around this club at the moment after their end to the season. From 15th to 7th under Glenn Roeder. From 2 points above the relegation zone to European football. Speed. Brushed off the ball illegally by Pearson. Speed. Same for Ferdinand, who got up well, as in days of yore. And Virgo packs it away. Rocco Quinn. Called over by Boomsong. I wonder if the real Alan Shearer might be the man that is sent on to save this game. He's going to have to appear soon. Lee. Elliott. Speed. And the fourth official, David Laws, is appearing down below us with the electronic board. In discussion with Glenn Roeder. Paul Kavanagh, the man who paid £14,000 to be Celtic's assistant, is directing operations from their technical area now. Doesn't quite cut it for me, Jim.
I'm sure he's been ushered to get on his feet and shout some sort of instruction just to get the most out of the evening.
Good on him, though, for that donation to charity, adding to the pot of £2.5 million that the Shearer Testimonial, this match and other functions, will accumulate for a number of very good and worthy causes. Hartson. Gary Speed. Here's Chopra. Ferdinand. Well, he couldn't quite get there. There was half a foot to it from Luque, but Hartson for Celtic. Wide open spaces occupied now by Verga. Quinn wants it through the middle. Still no electronic board.
I'm sure if Roder wants it, he could get 10 added minutes here.
It's going to be 3. It's going to be 3. And this is Michael Chopra for Newcastle, seeking an equalising goal. It's Les Ferdinand, the flag's up. That linesman's a spoil sport.
I think so. So nothing wrong with that at all. He's a mile onside, isn't he, Les? Well, he's level. Luque is just strayed, but he's not interfering.
And Terry McDermott has just gone across to the 4th official, as if Newcastle are planning to make another change. Free kick is Newcastle's. Camera. Oh, referee's given a free kick. It's been a curious refereeing display by Mark Clattenburg. Here's Chopra. Oh, Ferdinand, and a goal! It's 2-2, an own goal, Adam Virgo. And there are 90 seconds left. And I have to say that 1 or 2 of the challenges weren't as meaty as perhaps one might have expected.
I agree. I thought that Celtic were very generous in standing off Les Ferdinand and allowing him to get behind. A suspicion of offside again. This time the flag stayed down, and he benefits with a fortunate break really in the end. Not quite sure who it came off. Yeah, it was Lawson, wasn't it, John? It just came off Lawson, the unlucky one, trying to get back to help out. But a very, very dubious free kick given to start it all off as well.
Well, Lee has found Ferdinand, and Les Ferdinand goes down. Referee says penalty. And guess what? Do you know who's going to take it? Well, it may be orchestrated, but the situation demands it. And well done, Celtic, for playing along. Off comes Michael Chopra. The last entry of the Gladiator. He spent this afternoon at the training ground practicing penalties. On goes the captain's armband. And Alan Shearer, who has rescued Newcastle so many times before, has a chance to do so again. For the very last time, same old Shearer, always scoring. And the curtain comes down, so fittingly, with a winning goal in front of his beloved Gallowgate.
Beautiful moment, truly beautiful moment. And you're right, John, well done, Celtic. Very, very gracious to do that on their part. And it's the right and proper way for Alan Shearer to end his reign here at Newcastle, and has been an outstanding, outstanding reign.
Enjoy it one last time.
Keeper guessed wrong, very cool, just waited and found this spot. Tremendous.
And within seconds, the final whistle, and Newcastle and Alan Shearer sign off with a goal-laden victory by 3 goals to 2. And he passes from action man into folklore. He let his heart rule his head all those years ago when he came home to Newcastle, rejecting the overtures of Manchester United. rejecting the offer of almost automatic success and silverware in favour of a return to his people and his club. And who can blame him now?
Please text Shearer to 87070.
In front of his adoring public, he says despite the lack of trophies, there are no regrets. His achievements are there for all to see, in black and in white. His young son, Will, clinging to his father, and as you can see, they're both with Matt.
Thank you very much, John. It's funny old game football, how it turns out, isn't it?
That ref done great for me, didn't he?
Wasn't looking too good, 5 minutes to go.
I know that, yeah, and Les has come up trumps again, and I mean, he got a great reception, did Les, and deserved his goal, and it's been a great night, perfect ending, and I'm sure there's a bit more to come.
It must be, I don't know, all your Christmases come at once, this?
It's just unbelievable. I mean, the sight when all the scarves were being thrown around their heads was, I mean, it was just a fantastic sight, and it's just unbelievable.
You'll miss this, aren't you?
Well, I mean, how can you replace this? It's just incredible, it really is. They're the best fans in the world.
Listen, we could talk for ages, but there's a lot of people who want to talk to you and applaud you. Thank you very much for your time, Alan, and all the football over the last 10 years.
Thanks very much, appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you very much, good luck to Will. Thank you very much, Will. Listen, there's plenty more to get through here. We'll take a very short break, but do stay with us. Lots of people to talk to. We're back in a couple of minutes. Almost as if you could write the script, wasn't it, for Alan Shearer? I think the script just might have been written, but it doesn't matter. It's the right ending, the perfect ending to a fantastic career. Caps it all off. Gives the missus a little kiss. Great scenes here at St James's Park, great scenes. And they continue. Everybody wants to be part of this, everybody is part of this. Back to John Champion.
A rousing chorus of a time to say goodbye, performed with great gusto by Keady. Mr. and Mrs. Shearer wait ahead of some special presentations to be made to him by the Football Association, by the FA Premier League, and by Newcastle United. And the Masters of Ceremonies, two other Geordie icons, Ant and Dec.
Wow! Hey, I tell you what, I've always dreamt of doing that. Fantastic. Have you all had a great evening, everybody? It's been absolutely marvellous. It's a huge honour and privilege for us to stand here in front of...
Very good. Very, very good. Thank you very much.
I was going to say it's a huge honour and privilege to stand in front of all 52,000 of you here tonight who've come to pay tribute and say goodbye to our arguably greatest ever number 9 football player.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, could I ask you all to be upstanding, please, scarves at the ready, as we welcome onto the pitch for the very last time your captain, your number 9, Alan Shearer!
All right, Alan. You even sent the keeper the wrong way there before. Great to see you now.
Before we chat to Alan Shearer will now receive presentations from the FA Premier League, the Football Association and Newcastle United.
Firstly, Dave Richards, the chairman of the FA Premier League, is going to present Alan with a memento to mark his contribution as the Premier League's greatest ever goal scorer. Here we go.
Thank you very much, Dave Richards. Secondly, Alan Shearer has been a hero not just for Newcastle United, but for other clubs and, of course, for England. He played 63 times for his country, scored 30 goals, and captained England 34 times. The FA's Executive Director, David Davies, is here to make a presentation to Alan on behalf of England. David Davies.
And finally, Freddie Shepherd, the chairman of Newcastle United, is here to present Alan with the boots that he wore when he broke the Newcastle United goal scoring record. Alan has kindly donated these boots to the museum, and these boots have been encased in silver for posterity. Here they are. Thanks, Freddie.
Thanks, Freddie. Well, Alan, that's the presentation's over. Wow, wow, wow. What a night. 52,000 people here. We're all so sorry to say goodbye to you, Alan. What a night we've had. How do you feel?
I have to say, you shouldn't have, but the support tonight, the support for me for the last 10 years and the support for this football club ever since it has been a football club, that's why you're the best. I thank you very much for all the support you gave me over the 10 years. As everyone knows, I had the chance to join other football clubs before I came here and was very close to...
Any ones in particular, Alan?
There was a team in red not far from Manchester.
Well, we're very, very glad you chose Newcastle.
But it was always my dream and my ambition to come home, back to Newcastle. And I came back, and whatever anyone says, I've done it. I've done it my way, and I've lived the dream. So thanks very much.
I mean, Alan, 52,000 voices here tonight. There's millions more watching back at home on ITV. Has it sunk in yet that you'll never pull on the black and white jersey again and come and play here and be scoring goals for Newcastle United? Has that actually sunk in yet?
I don't think it'll sink in probably until the first day of next season, when for the first time in 19 or 20 years I won't be running out onto a football pitch, and I think that's when it'll actually hit me most. But I don't want tonight to end. I want it to carry on, and we'll have a good drink tonight and make sure it doesn't end.
I'll see you at the bar, Alan. Listen, I know we speak on behalf of everybody here, everybody watching on TV, all the Geordies all over the world. We're going to miss you so much. What are you going to miss about Newcastle United?
This, I mean, you just can't replace this. You really can't. It's impossible. Where else in the world would you see a picture where there's 52,000 throwing their scarves around, and it was a magnificent arena in that tonight, so once again, thank you. I think... Thank you. I think before we sign off, I'd like to say a huge thank you to Celtic Football Club for coming down tonight and their magnificent supporters. Thanks, lads. Thank you.
You must have, Alan, you must have so many special memories of St James's. Just quickly before we have to wrap it up, give us a few of your really special ones that you'll be taking away with you.
Well, my very first game here against Wimbledon, as I said, I achieved my dream. I played here at St James's Park. I always wanted to do it, and I scored a goal here in the number 9 shirt, and that was something I always wanted to do. And of course, I think the biggest and the best moment for me was without doubt this season against Portsmouth when I scored the 201st goal. To score the 201st goal and beat the legendary Jackie Milburn, who incidentally is with us here tonight, and it's his birthday today, so Jackie Milburn, thank you.
I think I speak on behalf of everybody when I say what an incredible night it's been. We know we're going to miss you, Alan. I'm not quite sure we know how much just yet, but we are going to miss you. Is there anything you'd just like to say to everybody before we wrap up? So it's over to you.
Once again, as I said before, I've lived my dream. You've made it all possible. Thanks very much, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Alan Shearer!
We'll see Alan Shearer take his final lap of honour here at St James's Park in just a couple of moments and get Andy's thoughts on really one of the legends of the modern game. Back shortly. It is, I guess, both a fantastic and a sad moment for Alan Shearer, this, as he takes his final bow in front of his absolutely beloved Newcastle fans, who of course love him to bits. Andy here with me watching these scenes. I mean, Newcastle clearly will miss him, football will miss him.
Yeah, we all will, Matt, absolutely, because he has done it the right way, make no mistake about that. That guy's been a credit to himself, to his family, to this club. Whenever he's turned out, all he's ever done is give his very best. And that's all you can ask from any player. And I'll tell you what, we are going to miss him, because you do wonder if that sort of player we're going to see again. They don't grow on trees, they're special.
He will be irreplaceable for Newcastle, won't he? Not just as a player, but as a presence, as the kind of person that unites a team and a city.
They will chant his name here, Matt, week in, week out for the next 10 years, honestly. And that's how much it has meant to everybody here. I've witnessed some fabulous scenes of football grounds in my time, playing the game and also commentating. I haven't seen anything like this tonight.
No.
It's absolutely incredible.
It is some send-off as he comes past now with the family. In the whole place, no one's left. Been at times or breaking, but certainly not between him and these fans.
No, not at all. Absolute legend. And he's a big, strong lad now, and let me tell you, he was having to choke back a few of those tears.
He's choked back a few. What sets him apart as a player for you, playing him against him? Plenty of times the fireworks go up.
I just think he was one of those guys that was fearless when he played. He put his head in where other people genuinely wouldn't. He never gave up. And as I said, I think the manner with which he always played the game was to be respected by other professionals.
Yes.
Every one of us hated it when we were playing against him, but had the utmost respect for him because he did it the right way. He just played the game as it should be played. And it was never about him as an individual, I always felt. It was always about this club, this team. And he just happened to be at the centre, the focal point of it.
I wonder how much this night will contribute to his thoughts about what happens next. Clearly he's going to have some time out, but I wonder whether once he remembers this in the future, whether he'll miss this, won't he?
How do you replace it, Matt? He's just said it, you know, he's got to try and find something else in his life. I will be staggered, I'll be amazed if at some point in the reasonable near future, Big Al doesn't come back here in some capacity. It just means too much to the people.
You can't walk out here in a shirt and boots, maybe walk out in a suit and tie. Obviously, with all respect to Glenn Roeder, we presume will be the next manager.
Sure.
It may be that one day in the non-too-distant future, Mr. Shearer takes that particular bow. Thank you very much to Andy, of course. As always, before we're done, just a reminder of what's still to come on ITV Sport next Wednesday night. Massive night, the Champions League final in Paris, of course, 7 p.m. on ITV1. Join Gabby and everybody for Arsenal against Barcelona. Wasn't Borough's night last night. Desperately hope it is Arsenal's night next week, but tonight really has been all about Alan Shearer. I don't know what else to say except that fence needs a good lick of creosote. It's been a few years. Thank you, Alan. Thanks for watching.
This is about glory. This is about a local boy who came home and played for his team.